Hello everyone, welcome to our Excel VBA tutorial series. In this video, we're going to peel back another layer of this powerful tool and learn how to easily input and retrieve cell values in Excel using VBA. So let's jump right in. When you're working with Excel VBA, a common task you'll find yourself doing is retrieving values from cells, manipulating them, and then storing them back into other cells. To accomplish this, we need to understand how to reference cells and input values into them. Let's start by looking at two common methods of referencing cells in VBA, the range method and the cells method. Both have their advantages, and the choice between them often depends on the specific task at hand. In this subroutine called putting values into cells, I've declared a variable named myValue of the variant data type. This allows us to store any type of data, including numbers, strings, dates, arrays, or even objects. The reason we're using a variant data type here is because of its flexibility, since Excel cell values can contain different types of data, such as text, numbers, dates, etc. Using a variant ensures our code can handle all these possibilities. This way, regardless of the data type contained in the Excel cells we're working with, our VBA code will be able to successfully retrieve and manipulate it without running into data type issues. Now let's look at the range method first. This line of code, myValue equals sheet2.range b1.value, is retrieving the value from cell B1 in sheet 2 and storing it in myValue. The range method uses the cell's alphanumeric address, making it very intuitive to use. But sometimes you might need to refer to cells dynamically, and that's where the cells method shines. MyValue equals sheet2.cells1,2.value accomplishes the same task as our previous line of code, but this time we are using the row and column numbers. This method uses the cells property. The syntax for this is cells, open parenthesis, row, comma, column, close parenthesis, where row is the row number and column is the column number. In Excel, row numbers start from 1 at the top and increase downwards, while column numbers start from 1 at the leftmost column, which corresponds to column A, and increase to the right. With this understanding of how Excel uses row and column numbers, let's transition into the process of inputting values into cells. We're going to start with the range method, which uses the letter number cell identifiers we're used to seeing in Excel. So here's how you would input values into cells. Look at this line of code, sheet 2 range B2, value equals myValue. What this is doing is, it's taking the value that we stored in the variable myValue, and it's inputting it directly into cell B2 of sheet 2. But remember how we discussed the cells method. This method is used in a similar fashion when inputting values. The difference lies in using row and column numbers as references instead of the alphanumeric ones. This underlines the versatility of VBA in handling cells in Excel. Now let's say we want to work with multiple cells at once. This is also quite simple in VBA. Look at this code, sheet 2 range D1 E2, value equals myValue. This inputs our value into all the cells from D1 to E2. But what if we want to do this with the cells method? That's where the resize property comes in. This line of code is equivalent to our previous range method example. This may look a bit more complex, but let's break it down. First, sheet 2 cells 1, 4 is pointing to cell D1. That's the first cell of the area we want to work with. Next, resize 2, 2 adjusts the area we're working with. The 2, 2 argument here specifies that we want to include the cell we've selected, D1 in this case, plus one additional cell in both the row and column directions. In other words, we're creating a block of 4 cells, 2 rows and 2 columns. This forms a rectangular area starting from D1 and includes D1, D2, E1, and E2. This line of code is in effect achieving the same result as our previous range example, but using a different method. This is a great illustration of the flexibility of Excel VBA. Now let's turn our attention to another useful tool when handling cell references, the offset property. This property allows you to reference a cell that is a certain number of rows and columns away from a specific cell. It's particularly useful when you want to dynamically reference cells in relation to a known cell, rather than hard-coding the cell references. This line of code inputs our value into the cell one row down and one column to the right of cell B2. Now let's look into how we can use the offset property with the cells method. When using offset with cells, we're still defining our initial cell with row and column numbers, similar to how we've done before. Then, we apply the offset property to this cell reference. We are moving one row down and one column to the right from cell B2, effectively landing on cell C3. This ability to move around the grid dynamically can be very powerful, especially when dealing with varying data ranges or when the specific cells you need to work with might change over time. In conclusion, the offset property is an incredibly versatile tool, giving you the flexibility to reference cells dynamically based on their position relative to a starting cell, whether you're using the range method or the cells method to define that starting point. And there you have it. You've just learned how to easily reference, input, and retrieve cell values in Excel using VBA. Keep practicing with different cells and ranges, and don't be afraid to get creative. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more tutorials. Happy coding, and I'll see you in the next video.